So, good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us for our January first Lunch and Learn of 2023. So pleased to have Nancy Cronin here. She is the Executive Director of the Maine Developmental Disabilities Council, as well as the Learn the Signs Act Early Ambassador for the state of Maine. So, thank you so much, Nancy, um, for joining us. You are being recorded. This is going to be put on our YouTube page in a bit. And so now take it away, Nancy. Thank you.
Happy New Year. I am so glad to be here. This is you guys are one of my very favorite groups in the state of Maine, because primarily you work with actual people, with actual children, and you're the ones who make the difference. And I'm so proud of the collaboration and the work you guys have done to incorporate Learn the Signs Act early in Maine, and I'll be showing that in a minute. Let's get going. The very first thing that I want to talk about, and then I'm going to start by showing you a video, is this map in the upper right-hand screen. And you see the green? That means we are one of the ones that are supported by the CDC to actually promote Learn the Signs Act early in WIC. Which is amazing, which is great. And you guys are doing such a good job. I love talking to the feds, and I talk about you and I say, well, do you know Ginger? And they say, yeah, I know Ginger. And it's like, boom, boom, boom. We are the best. So, okay, enough clapping on hands. Let's get to work. I want to start by showing a video and then we'll begin.
So Sam was a full-term baby. At a year old, I started seeing a few differences, but I didn't realize how concerned I should be, given that I didn't have a lot of knowledge of typical development, being a young mom, staying home with my children, and I didn't have a lot of kid experience.
1 out of every 4 young children is at moderate or high risk for developmental, behavioral, or social delay. Research shows that the earlier these delays are identified and children receive services, the better the outcome. This is particularly true of children in low-income families, such as those served by WIC. These children often miss out on critical services at a time when those interventions would have had the greatest effect on their quality of life.
The Developmental Milestones Program gives WIC staff a reliable, professional tool to use with parents to monitor their children's development. And it does this in a positive, supportive way that engages parents and encourages them to take an active role in their children's developmental journey. It can be linked to nutrition education, referrals, and participant-centered goals when appropriate.
The WIC program and the Developmental Milestone Program are perfect partners because the main focus for the WIC program is for healthy children, to give children a healthy start in life.
We lost out on 2 years of early intervention and access to services. It was just because I wasn't informed.
WIC staff may be among the first to observe these possible developmental concerns and refer for further assessment. Almost 100% of WIC staff said that parents were willing to complete the checklist, and nearly all parents reported that they learned new information about their children's development. WIC staff members indicated the program was easy to implement, with 80% reporting that the program takes 5 minutes or less. In fact, some staff reported that when parents completed the checklist during data entry, and no referral was needed, the program added virtually no time to the appointment.
The clients that we have here were really open, first of all, to always fill out the checklist, which was great. And then anytime that we did have anyone have a referral and we followed up with them about it, almost all of them actually, the doctors were proactive about, getting them into different services. That has been awesome.
Almost 100% of WIC staff said they referred 1 or more children. 90% said the program helped them learn when to refer, and how to support parents through the referral process. Most importantly, the program helps children get the services they need.
For myself, I have a 9-month-old, and so I'm constantly checking out these checklists to see how he's doing. So both ways, I mean, personally and then professionally, it's been, I think, amazing.
Using materials developed by experts at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the WIC Developmental Milestones program is focused on children, meaningful to parents, and easy for staff.
One thing that I've really come to realize is knowledge is power. And when you inform parents, then they have the ability to be a good advocate for their child and to help guide their children to reach their greatest potential.
Thank you for seeing and introduce the program. Much of this you are already doing. No, I don't want you to play again. I want to switch screens. There we go. As it said, why develop milestones? Well, up to one in 4 kids are at moderate to high risk of a developmental disability or a developmental delay. 1 in 6 have a developmental disability. And when we just came on, Ginger was saying how when she was working for the Office of Adults and Developmental Services, she was really noticing how that if kids are caught early identification and got in what they needed, ultimately, many of them don't grow up to need the services ultimately. And she said it's cost efficient. Not only is it the right thing to do, but it's cost efficient. And I agree. And the way I look at it is, during those initial 5 years of life, kids' brains are developing. When you are born, you have your neurons, but they're somewhat organized, but there's too many of them, and they're not connected in the way that they're going to need to be. That is what early childhood is all about, in which the neurons connect to the other neurons and they create those dendrite connections, and then it strengthens the connections that you need and it makes it more efficient and it prunes away what you don't need. Well, kids with developmental delays, their brains are not doing that in the natural way. So really, when you are identifying a child as potentially having a delay and getting them into early intervention, what those practitioners are doing is knitting brains and creating the brain. And the reason it's so important to do it now is just think about it. Would you rather help a child when the development is occurring naturally, or wait until there's already in which you have to kind of undo what's been done and you get a scar? It's just not as effective. I'm looking at the bottom of the screen, which is this little black box, and that's who I'm talking to. But hopefully this is working for you. So early intervention is critical because you are helping shape or change the trajectory of the child's development, because their brain wouldn't be able to do it on their own. And in that, creating lifelong changes because the child's development shifts at the right time. Early intervention is best. And the truth of the matter is you folks are the ones that are some of the ones that see these families first. You're really on the front lines. WIC, home visitors, public health nurses, doctors, daycare workers, childcare workers. That's where it's at. Early intervention is better. So I just basically said. Now the other piece of that is it's never too late to start services, though. Even if a child may not get access to services, we want them to get access to services immediately. And part of my job is to try to advocate for the system to work better, because right now there are issues. So some kids don't get services as fast as we want them to. We want to fix that. At least my agency wants to fix that. I think everybody wants to fix that. But they can't even get in the queue without you. And families can't even start the things they can do at home and start advocating without identifying that there's an issue. And that's what this is all about. So what Learn the Signs, Act Early's mission is to improve early identification of developmental delays and disabilities, including autism, by facilitating parent-engaged developmental monitoring and promoting developmental screening so children and their families can get the early services and support they need. With you folks helping work with families and do this surveillance, it can open the door that can change a child's life forever. Not only are you feeding them and you're feeding them in so many different ways, not just with food, you are also changing potentially the trajectory and setting them on the path in which their child might be able to actually get what they need, which is huge. So what's this approach? It's family friendly, it's positive, it's cute, it celebrates development. So it's been 13 years, and some of you know me when I was pregnant, so it blows my mind that my son is 13 right now. But I remember being a crazy person when I was pregnant. I was so afraid. And then when my child was young, I was so afraid and I was overwhelmed by the amount of things that could go wrong. One reason I like this program is it's an opportunity to celebrate what's going right. Yes, there's an opportunity to identify when there's issues, but there's almost never a time in which you couldn't celebrate something with a kid at the same time as pointing out places where you might want to do some work. It's never as black and white as kind of the pamphlets and the materials look like. So focusing on, and for those families that the child may be perfectly great, well, I don't know, whatever, having somebody look and say, look at how cool your kid is, can only help them. So I celebrate development is as important as acting on concerns. It's hand in hand. It's parent focused, it's super high quality, it's comprehensive, it's helpful, encouraging, open, and everything I'm going to show you can be customized to you. Here's the dream. We have surveillance, and that's what I'm talking about today. So parent-engaged monitoring, where parents and early providers start noticing what are the normal, typical milestones and how's the kid doing? And then if there's an issue, there's two pathways. One pathway is to CDS. That is a pathway. That's the state's early intervention system. And the other pathway that we encourage right now is to the primary care physician. So to a screening opportunity, to a doctor, to say, I have concern. And hopefully that will get to the state CDS, but it also might get to the medical model in which you can access services the other way. One of the places that I'd like to look at in our state, and everybody I talk to agrees, that we really need to look at early intervention much more holistically than we do now, which educational Part C is part of it, or Part B 619, so school services is part of it, but also what rounds it out to be able to mitigate and look at that kid's needs and make sure they're getting it in a coordinated, holistic way that doesn't ask families to get bounced around everywhere. The other way is the doctor's way is going to be able to get you diagnostic evaluations. So will the state's early intervention, so will CDS, but they're going to look for something different. The early education system is going to look for they're not going to look as much towards the disability, and you might need that. So for instance, if it's autism, they're going to want to look at seizures and other potential issues that might be coming out and rolling out. And if you just go through CDS, they're not going to see that as much. And it's important that round diagnostic happens. So your job is up here, though. I hate not being in person in some ways. I'm hoping you can see my cursor. I'm circling the surveillance right now. Your job is here. That starts the, you can, oh good. You're starting the process. And ultimately the goal is to get the support and services and go back to it's a circle. So go back to surveillance. How else are things happening? I don't like that hearing it's a circle. A circle doesn't work. It's like well, it's like a spring. Yes, you're going around, but you're always moving forward because development moves forward. So what's the difference between surveillance and screening? Surveillance occurs in a variety of settings. It can be a well-child visit, it can be a WIC visit, it can be a public health nursing visit. It's ongoing. It uses developmental milestones that do have research behind it, but the tool itself, it's not a standardized scorable tool. That's a screening. Surveillance is not diagnostics. That's a screening. So a surveillance is when you're seeing, is there any concerns? And if there are, then a screening is warranted. But it helps support where screenings might need to be done. But it also, it's kind of natural. When you are raising your child, parents are naturally surveying their children's development. Hopefully at those ages, I remember just being in awe about my son's development. It's almost magical. But being able to say to a family, you're already doing surveillance. This is just another way of giving you information in which you're looking at what's coming up, what's going on. So the milestones, you already have these materials, but you might have heard, but they're in a lot of different ways. There's an app. I love the app. And I'm old. I'm 53 years old. So I do use I do use this thing, but I don't use it in the same way as many of the younger kids these days use it. And you want to use the communication tools of the people who are actually having children. I have a 13-year-old. I'm not having a 1-year-old unless it's a dog. I have a 1-year-old dog, but I think it's important if it might be easier to have the surveillance using an app on their phone as opposed to through paper all the time. So they might like that. The other is you guys will have checklists that's developing specifically for WIC. And there's the milestone moments folders. Now, all of these materials I'll go through a bit deeper, but I want you to know that if there's something you want, I can help get it for you. So can Ginger. If you want to be able to, if you want to customize it, my office can help you customize it so that it has your numbers on it. Whatever you might need. Whoa, that was way too fast. Yeah, there I am. So you might have heard, I don't think I've talked to this group since it's happened, but last year, almost a year ago, the checklists all changed. And you might want to know why. And the reason is because there was some problems in the last series of checklists. There were a lot of them, but they didn't all fit with what the well-child visits were. So where was the 15 and the 30-month checklists? There was a lot of words like may or vague. It was only for 50%. So 50% of the kids met the milestones. These milestones, 75% of the kids meet the developmentally typical meet the milestones. So this is a much more robust method. That it had a lot of warning signs and kind of language that some parents were like, is there something wrong with my kid, when there wasn't? Frankly, it needed to be updated. So they did. And I didn't bring the slide in here of who was on it, but the number of pediatricians and nurses and WIC staff and parents and just professionals, that university types and doctors that really dug in and did the research. I also didn't leave the slides in here that shows the amount of documentation and amount of peer-reviewed literature that they went through to decide all these things, but it was intense. And if you have any questions about it, feel free to ask me. I have all the information. It's just a little dry. Oh my God, have I really been talking for 30 minutes? Holy moly. Wow. Okay, got to go faster. So what these criteria do is most children, greater or equal to 75% of the children, demonstrate these milestones. That means you can almost feel pretty confident that at an age, if a kid isn't doing it, they need a referral. So you can have a lot of confirming. This eliminates warning signs. It's much easier for families of different social, cultural, and ethnic backgrounds to observe. Please note, I have a lot of different languages available to me in these milestones as well. So if you find yourself needing different languages, let me know. They're able to be answered with yes, not yet, and not sure, and that's a little different. It's using plain language. It's organized in developmental domains. It shows progression of skills when possible so people can see where they're going. And there's no repetition. I mean, it's a much more compact. It includes open-ended questions, and that's going to be really important for you folks. It includes what to look at next and how to act if there's concerns. Why 75%? Well, frankly, there was a lot of false negatives. I mean, false positives. And that's not fun for a family. Nobody needs that. Nobody needs to be worried between now and going to the professional. This also, we're really hoping that doctors don't do the wait and see approach anymore. If this is showing up, we shouldn't be at a wait and see. We should be acting. All right, I'm going to move on. So a lot of people love this, including pediatrics. And this has gone through a rigorous peer-reviewed process. Some of the open-ended questions that are different are things like, what are some things you and your child do together? Some other suggestions about what to share with the doctor that might get you to a better place in understanding what's going on with this family. It has wonderful notes in it. It's time for developmental screening, where to go for it. And let's zoom in. This is what it looks like. It doesn't look that much different, but it has it by domain in very nice, simple ways. There was a lot more checks last time than I think you're going to see now. Puts things in her mouth to explore, reaches and grabs toys. Your baby at 6 months, 12 months. Here's some things to look at. I wanted to get to this screen. So what happens if I click and ask it to go to a website so I can show you? This is all magical. Can you see the website? Or no? I need somebody to say yes or no.
Now. We can now.
Yay. Okay, perfect. This is milestones in action. And what you have is, I'm going to click on this 9-month guy. And in here, you have the domains of social, emotional, language communication, cognitive, movement, and physical. If anybody has a question about what things look like, you can go here and there's usually a video. It's usually a small video, but this is her moving to a position herself, but a very small video of something cool. All right, I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint. Are you back in the PowerPoint?
Not
Is
yet.
it magic?
Give it a minute. I think you might have to go to the PowerPoint and say share again. Oh, we're back to milestones in action. Nancy, do you have these in Portuguese and French? The checklists? Oh, we may have lost Nancy. Hold on. There she is. She's back. Nancy, question for you. Do you have these checklists in Portuguese and French? Oh, you're muted.
I believe I do. Yes. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can see you and we can hear you. So I know you just sent us new checklists the other day. I believe we're going to include them in the weekly update that all staff get. So
Good.
Staff will get the new ones on Friday. But we have many, many language needs here. So French and Portuguese, I'm forgetting what the Lingala, French, Portuguese, Spanish, Arabic, Somali, any of those languages we love, and we could put these on our website as well.
If I don't have the language, then I will ask. I want to present. I just want to, can you see this screen? Is it easier just to go through this?
We can. It's on like presentation mode, so we can see that it's screen 3 of 38 down at the bottom.
If I hit stop sharing, stop presenting, do I go away? I hope not. Okay, I don't think so. Now I can share my screen again and it will be fine. So, would you email me, please, the languages you need? And I
Sure
will
will.
get you them.
Yep.
And if for some reason I can't
Sure.
get it and they don't
We're-
exist yet,
Yeah, we're
I'll have,
seeing email, not, there we go. There we go. Perfect. And now I think if you just say slideshow start from current slide, that'll be,
that's
there we
good.
go. No,
All
and
right.
now up at the, there we go. Perfect. You're good.
So if you would please send me the list of people of languages you need, I'll get you what I have. And if I don't have it yet because it's being created, I will get the request into I'll get the request into the CDC to ask for it faster. And if you need, I have some money that I could actually work on some translations. But I know I have a number of them already. So
Great.
send me the
Thank you.
list and I'll send you what
Okay.
they are.
Will do.
All right, so I'm not clicking on anything here again, but this is just that milestones in action. I really like this because oftentimes I don't know what things mean. I'm a bit literal, and this allows that to happen. Oh, here is the app. The app is just fantastic. So that's just great. Please encourage families to move forward with it. And you could have all these different materials. Here's a picture of all the materials that we can send you and give you. The Amazing Me, the Where's Bear, and the Busy Day all fit with the current materials, the current milestones. So, and I have a brand new one of these roadmaps. So just shoot me an email and I can get you some stuff. All right.
Yeah, and so
So this
clinics,
is
let me know if you want any of those
perfect.
supplies, and I'll get that request to Nancy. Nancy, one thing to tell you, we also have a WIC shopper app that connects
Beautiful.
to the Learn the Signs Act Early, so participants can see it also on our app as well.
Do that. That's perfect. That's perfect. I wanted you to see, as the Learn the Signs Act Early Ambassador, I have access to WIC program materials. So I have the WIC milestone checks. You probably do too, but I also have wall and floor blocks and uh, program information. But I have a ton of other materials. I didn't slide it in here. And this is on the screen. I created this yesterday, but I could go back and this is where I'm going to go look for your materials of different languages. There's something in here that as soon as there's a new language, it will load up and I'll have access to it. But if you wanted anything, let me know. This is all at your disposal. This really is a partnership with doctors and you folks. We offer clinical tip sheets, family-friendly guides for next steps for what to do when there's a concern. Free online courses is all available. But this really is more than materials. This absolutely, without a doubt, is a partnership. And I'm really proud. I just have to give some kudos to Ginger. When I started being Learn the Signs Act Early Ambassador, I felt like WIC was hard to get into. And all of a sudden Ginger came in and the world opened up for developmental screening. So it's not just her, but it's also you. You have made Maine and our kids be fortunate. And I really thank you for that. And I thank you for letting me share this material with you. And I thank you for using it. It really is helping. Our numbers are going up in identification of kids. And I personally believe that's because of you guys. How do you access? Oh no, I'm going to actually click on something again. I'm not going to click on the first one. That's the online one, but I want you to see this. I'm super proud of this. www.actearlymaine.org. So I'm going to escape to make it sure that you can see the whole thing. I'm going to click on this now, and I'm going to cross my fingers that you're able to see this. Can you? Ginger?
So, yeah, it says
Yay!
your developing child learn the signs act early.
This is actearlymaine.org. And what this website has is it has the screenings. So I'm going to click through the stuff, at least some of it. This is not the WIC specific. This is for everybody though. And it has all these kind of tips and tricks about, oh, it's going to be too slow because I live in the boonies. I'm going back to, all right, I'm just going to tell you what it has. So it has screenings, little tips and tricks for you. It has milestones. Under community resources, it has things like diaper banks. It has food banks. It has heating. How do you get educational to your Part C? How do you get to local services? So community resources should have lists of everything. WIC's on there too. But it basically has literally everything. I'm going to give community resources a shot because this, I really asked our staff to put some time in there. It has behavioral health, basic needs, education, family support, health resources. I'm hoping this becomes a one-stop shop, and I would really like it so that your developing child in your community contact, help me grow. I'd really like to put WIC on this and have you guys go in there in here too, because it really I would love you guys to I'd love this to be a one-stop shop. In fact, I'd love it if my dream is this goes to somewhere in the state and I just put money into it every couple years, or every year I put $2,000 to update it. That's kind of my dream. All right, let's go back to this. I bet you're back with me, are you? I'm going to assume so. This is my phone number. Sign up for your app. What else is going on in Maine? Oh, there's a bunch of stuff going on in Maine right now. The one that I want you folks to be aware of is there is going to be a bill in this year. We'll see where it goes, but you're going to see an LD enact to improve the system of early intervention. And what it does is it looks and it's asking to create some kind of entity at the not a department, but an entity that spans across the different departments under the children's cabinet, maybe. I don't know where it's going to end up, that looks at young children as a whole. And then it has a essentially a report component, a work group component that looks at all of the different things that we're doing for young children in children behavioral health services or maternal child health, in OCFS, and in Department of Education. Put it all together and look at the funding a little bit and see what makes sense in this. You know, we haven't done this in many years. And then create some kind of a recommendation that allows one vision for early childhood across systems so that things are a little bit easier to communicate and coordinate. But it's not all in DHHS. It's really bigger. So that is going to be there. I know there's a ton of different legislation that's going to be coming out around early childhood, mostly around services. I know that there's going to be rulemaking around how to connect with main care around services. WIC isn't, I don't know anything that's going to be coming out around WIC specifically, other than the fact that you are a program that works, in my opinion, very well in this state. That needs to continue. And that's my opinion. So thank you for letting me be here. Here is my email. I talked too fast. I could have slowed myself down. Well, there you go. I'm going to open us up and let's have a conversation for a bit. So I'm going to stop sharing and hope that we can how do I make it so I can see it, people? Could we have a conversation for the next 10, 15 minutes?
Sure. Does anyone have any questions or any thoughts or comments they want to share with Nancy?
How are things going? Is there any questions about like how to talk to families or anything? Anything that's not working that I can help streamline? Anything that works really well?
Well, the counselors do have the sheets and tear off pads, but they've probably had the supply they've had for a few years, and I'm realizing they don't have the new ones. So Carrie's gonna send the new ones out in weekly update if anybody wants them printed. But there are like the floor stickers you have and other things. I know people have ordered them in the past, but I think the call is out, Nancy, if they want more of those. To let me know and I'll let you know. Is that right?
Yeah, that's
Um,
great. Is there
yeah.
any, how's the system working in your opinion? Are people worried about speaking?
No, I don't, this group usually isn't worried about speaking at all. Yeah,
Hi,
they're,
this is
we would
Rochelle up
need
at
to print them, Jen. We will work on it. Sorry, Rochelle, go ahead.
no problem. This is Rochelle up at Aroostook County. We have a good relationship working with CDS. You know, and plus we also work with Head Start very closely. So, you know, we definitely it's just a organic process for us.
You guys up in Aroostook County do it well. Do it well. I've talked a lot to you folks up there. There's a lot of real positives. What makes it so positive, do you think?
I think it's part of it is we've built relationships with the actual staff, and it just makes sense on what
Yes.
we have our own, we know where each other stands with everything, and I don't know, we just have built the relationships. And it's not that staff hasn't changed over time, because it has. It's just that yeah, we keep each other in the loop,
Yeah,
I
there's a real
guess.
community culture in Aroostook County. I've had the pleasure to working with your Head Start people up there, and it's really been very positive.
Thank you.
How is it? What is it like talking to families? Does anybody have a tip or trick? And this is for everybody again, not just Rochelle, but if you have something, say it. Do you have any tips or tricks about how do you say there's a concern? Anything you guys have learned?
Just depends on the situation. I don't know. Not any one of them is alike. I mean, you know, if we notice that there's some speech stuff, we might say, so I'm noticing that, you know, your child isn't necessarily saying a whole lot of words. Is that something that concerns you? Have you ever brought it up to the doctor? You know, that kind of thing. And if they say yes or no, you know, that's the open door right there.
I love how you did that. You know, what you basically said was, "Do you have any concerns? I've noticed." And that's very non-threatening language, the way you just said it, and that's very well done. And that's what I would
Thank
basically
you.
say. Parents can be at many different places. And I think that the most challenging thing I've had as a professional is when I've noticed something and I feel very strongly that a child needs something, but the family might not be at it. And the biggest mistakes that I've made is by pushing them a little bit too fast. I can push them right away. And the way your words were there, very much is very supportive of I've noticed this. Do you have any concerns? And it really allows the conversation to start meeting at the right level. So that was very well done.
Thank you.
Now, there are times that you kind of have to breathe through the fact that they might not be doing things as fast as you might like. But nonetheless, it is better to keep the conversation open and start at their level. Ginger, I think I'm done. I'm done early. I'm here, but I think I'm done.
Well,
Is there any?
yeah. So I will just say thank you for coming. Again, staff, let me know if there's materials. We'll work on the tear-offs because what I'd like to hear about is really, and that will be separate, is what they've used, which ones were the most common to send out. And then I will just mention that the department, as you know, Nancy has started Help Me Grow. And so we've come up with a system here that if we see a child that needs an ASQ, we'll be referring them to Help Me Grow for that full ASQ. But it
That's
doesn't
awesome.
mean we're stopping the sheets. It's just another layer in, like you said, really trying to make sure our state's children have access to early intervention because that really is where it's at.
I'm so glad. And my dream actually, what part of the goal I have in asking for this legislation is I'd like to see Help Me Grow even stronger in looking at its funding and things so that you guys can refer to Help Me Grow and then Help Me Grow can really take on that work. That's such an important and good program that we're creating in Maine.
Yeah.
I'd also be really interested in hearing what are the sheets, what are the ages that you find most used and most useful. That might be very interesting to give feedback to the feds about. And maybe even we can target those ages a little bit because I suspect that there's developmental places that's more common for concerns to come.
Yeah, so they were sent equal amounts of every single sheet, and how I had them printed was double-sided, and I put them on a tear-off sheet. So they had a pad of 1 month, 2 month, etc. And so then the staff just had to rip off the top sheet from the pad and give it to the parent, and then they could take that to the physician. And they also have tear-off sheets for hypertension identification for pregnant persons. So we get bunches of tear off sheets. So I think they may, unless somebody wants to shout out and you kind of know, they may have to go back and take inventory of what do they have left because they were given a sheet of each one, and then for each main office, and what have they used to know? Because I don't know that we're using as many 4-year-olds as we are 4-month-olds, but maybe we are. Maybe we're reusing more.
But you're going
Not
to want to
sure.
switch to the new milestones, the new
Yeah,
checklists.
yes, and we will do that. Jen VJ is saying she thinks that they've used 0 to 3 mostly, and then somebody has given a thumbs up, so they agree with 0 to 3 mostly. Um, but so we'll look at
That
that, work on getting that logo in. I'm sorry, somebody was.
that 0 to 3 makes a lot of sense, and that is the most critical place.
Yeah, yeah. And we stop at 5. There is legislation in front of Congress talking about moving us to age 6, which here in Maine we'd like because of that gap. They don't have to be in school till they're 6, so that, when they drop off WIC, some children kind of, quote, fall off a cliff and don't have as much access to food. So we would love it if it got moved to 6, but they're usually talking about other things. So that legislation's just kind of been languishing there, I think about 4 years now.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I hope they do.
So great. Unless somebody else has any questions, we have 14 minutes back.
Great. And just
Oh, okay.
Rebecca McLean, just to say to you, yes, the paper checklists have all been updated. Yes.
Great. We will get those checklists out electronically on Friday in the weekly update email. Carrie's already put it in, and Carrie's taking over. And then we'll work on getting print orders done. And Jackie Ewing, I see that you need the hypertension tear offs. I'll be in, I think, Thursday and can mail those to you.
Great.
All right.
All right, well, thank you very much. Call me anytime. I'm here to help.
Okay. Thanks, Nancy. Take care, everybody.
Take care. Bye.